It looks like most everybody is getting in here. We have over 145 people registered, and we are rocking and ready to go. So welcome. So I'm going to ask that let's see, I do see some of our panelists and organizers coming in today. So as you guys are logging on, if you could, mute yourselves, and then we're going to go ahead and get ready. So I want to welcome everybody to, this is one of our Forward Progress workshops, one of them for the month. And this one is titled Search Engine Marketing, How to Climb to the Top of Google on Any Budget. And you'll notice that I have a lot of the icons down below that are social media icons, and we're going to really get into the nuts and bolts about how we work with a lot of organizations to help get them to the top of Google. And the game has changed quite a bit, and we do have our resident expert on who works with Google all the time and works with all of our clients. I want to welcome Joe Karns, who's on with us today. Hey, Joe, how you doing?
I'm great.
Good. And I'll go ahead and you can mute while we're going, and if you want to chime in on anything, you're always welcome to jump right in. And then we have Stephen Nestor handling your questions on the back end. So as you guys are typing in questions, just like you just did, we will, we'll bring you in, and Stephen will make sure that those questions are teed up. So my name is Dean DeLisle. I'm founder and CEO of Forward Progress. We have trained and coached over 85,000 people just like this on social networks, on social media, on online marketing, email marketing, and all kinds of cool stuff. So we're just happy to have all of you with us, and let's go ahead and get started on our topic today. Right before we do that, we just ask that everybody sort of take away those distractions for a few minutes. Maybe take your cell phone, turn it over, and get out a notepad and take some notes, because we know that each and every one of you are going to have a few takeaways that you can have to maybe just make that one adjustment to help your business or maybe your company climb a little bit higher in the rankings in Google. Also, a lot of you have already communicated with us, but in your GoToWebinar taskbar, there is a questions area, and a lot of you were checking in from all over the world. Like I said, we have 11 countries with us today. It's a very global webinar, and we're here in Central Time in Chicago. And just if you want to communicate with us and ask questions, we may not get to them immediately, but we're going to do our darndest to hang around and as long as we need to answer those questions. So if you can, just find that questions box, and you can put a hi or hello in there, and a lot of you have already checked in. And then when you have a question, just submit it, and we will take it away from there. And then Sue just checked in from Vancouver, so we have a lot of our Canadian friends in with us today. So so with that being said, let's look at this. You know, this is a chart of the components of internet marketing. And so for years, you know, we had worked with search engine optimization, or better known as SEO, and then search engine advertising came along, and then all of a sudden content marketing hit the skids, and social media, and so there's this whole mix of what really makes up search engine marketing. But when people come on board with us and have an engagement with us on helping them get to the top of Google, we look at all things combined that can possibly help create what we call that lift. And we're going to show you some examples of how we do that. And then again, maybe this might promote what things look like, you know, on your side, or what can help your business. So we're going to take you into that. And one of the things that we've noticed is that the landscape has changed a little bit. We always had this traditional marketing toolkit. How many of you have always been in traditional type marketing roles? Like we were always we were always doing trade shows, and we were doing all kinds of events, and I've done some radio for a few years, and we've been involved with TV and cable, and I remember newspaper advertising. And so when we look at our sort of internet marketing, yeah, right, long time ago, right? So as we look at the new marketing toolkit, right, it has a whole different sort of channel aspect to it. And what we want to do is sort of break it down, because it can get a little bit overwhelming, and now what we want to do is say, you know what, I'm going to pick off this one thing, and that's what we want you to walk away with today, that one thing that you can do, or that next one or two things that you can do, so that 2014 you can go ahead and beat out that competitor. Now, a lot of us are up against bigger checkbooks, right? So like if we want to get to the top of the mortgage industry, we're going to have to go up against Quicken Loans and Wells Fargo and people that have much bigger checkbooks. However, we have techniques that we use to sort of beat them out a little bit, and we're going to share that with you today. So the first thing you want to do is identify who your target customer or partner is. So if you don't have that, you need to identify that. First and foremost, who are you trying to attract and get in front of? So everybody's running around with iPhones and iPads and all kinds of good things like that, and they're Googling all the time and they're looking things up. You know, it's funny, as we're just talking around the office here, they're like, hold on, let me look that up. Or if we're out to lunch, people now flip their phones open no matter what questions are being asked, and we type them in. Right? Well, when they're typing them in related to our business, we want to make sure we're at the top, right? We want to make sure that you come up at the top. So the first thing you need to do is identify your target customer or partner, or who are you trying to attract. So make sure you write that down, okay? So if you don't know that clearly, write that down. That's your very first step, okay, in what we're about to share with you. The second thing is think about where you want to take them. Right? What is your destination? Now, some of you are, I'm looking down the list here, some of you are clients of ours, and we've built landing pages and capture pages and Lightgate pages in Facebook for you, right? So you want to capture people in social media in a registration type format. Some of you have a landing page, and a landing page is, we'll show you a few examples here, but it's much smaller than a whole website. Some of you want to drive people to your website. Some people still want to make the phone ring. So real quick, I'm going to put a poll up on the screen. This is separate from the questions area, and I just want to find out, what is your primary, just click one of these, there's a poll up on the screen, but what is your primary destination? You know, are you driving people to the telephone? Now just pick one. I know some of us have multiple, but like, what's still number one for you? And I'll share this with everybody. We're just going to give you, we have a big crowd today and a lot of stuff to cover, so I'm just going to give you a few moments. But on your screen, there's a polling box. It's a blue box. And again, if you lose our screen, you just click on that little flower, and it'll pop the screen back to the top for you. All right, so we have almost everybody in. You guys are great for globally. For a global attendance at 40 seconds, we're at almost 80. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I'll share. So 61% of you want to drive people to your website, which we're going to talk about next. 8% of you are using landing pages in some capacity as your primary. 25% still make the phone ring. And 3% event registration and 3% other. Okay, so very cool. See, and the other, I'm going to assume, is coming through the door, walking to the location, things like that. You're driving people in the door, and we do that a lot of times for location-based clients, right? So now that you have your destination down, right? So visualize your target. You're driving them to that primary destination, okay? And we're giving you the simplest formula here, and then you can get more complex. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to move on to this next one. Now, the factors that affect web conversion. Now, we could talk about this for a whole half a day, so I'm just going to get down to the bare necessities as it relates to Google, okay? Because what will happen is we don't want you to spend money. We don't want you to spend money on driving organic search or paid search, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm not getting anything from it. And there's a couple of factors that have to do with why we don't get anything from it. One of the number one things is the organic search doesn't work because we get unqualified traffic, what we call people that we're attracting that have nothing to do with who we want to service, that target, right? Because we're just throwing stuff out there, and we see all these hits and all these views and all these clicks, and we're just like, what's going on? Okay, so one of the things you want to think about are your keywords. Now, we can't go deep into keywords today, but keywords are the things that you type in to drive, you know, to drive business. You know, it's what your customers and prospects type in so that they can drive, you know, to your website. Now, when you're typing a search in, and all those people pop up, it's very scientific of how Google returns things to the top of the screen. right? And how we dictate, organic versus paid, which we'll cover in a few minutes. But the main reason that websites don't convert is because the keywords are wrong. So think about what those keywords might mean, and we'll come back to this part in a minute. The other part is incompatible ad text. This is probably one of the #1 issues of conversion or unqualified. So you're running an ad out on the internet. Oh, actually, let me just show you. You're running an ad out here right now. This is an ineffective landing page because it's Best Buy and they have a bunch of stuff on the page just like Walmart. But they can afford to do that because they're driving you to the front of their page, and then you're getting to a level of conversion. So for them, when they run ads, they have landing pages for ellipticals and kids electronics and garden and patio that they drive you to inside that page. We can't afford to compete with that. So let me give you something that we all, if we're going to take any budget that we have, can afford to do. And that's when we build an effective landing page. Now you're like, well, Dean, that's Bose. I can't compete with Bose. But you can be like Bose, right? Just like be like Mike. You can have it so that you can have a page that you're selling your #1 thing. The #1 thing that you offer. It could be a service, it could be a product, it could be whatever it is. And what you want to do is create consistency that you talk about this one thing out on the internet. Now think about this. Anytime you type something into Google, you're starting a conversation. I just want you to think about that and hold that, right? You're asking Google a question. Almighty Google, I want to find the very best digital music system, right? Or I want to find the very best, Bose Wave music system. Whatever it is you type in, you're asking Google a question. Okay, that's what your customers and clients are doing. No matter where they're searching, they're asking the internet a question. And what you want to do is you want to be the answer. Well, what happens is that the people are asking a question, your target people are asking a question, and they're arriving to the page and they're bouncing out because the answer isn't there. And you lose them within a few clicks. So if you're expecting them to click to another page or anything else, they're going to get lost in that shuffle. So what you want to do is you want to have the exact thing, right, that you're talking about in that starting conversation out on the internet, whether it's in your social network sites, it doesn't matter whether it's in a pay-per-click ad, wherever it is out there on the internet, you want to continue the discussion on your website, right? Right, so and that's Edith, I'll handle that question at the end. That's a good question. I don't want to get that deep just yet. I just want to make sure everybody understands how this works. So hold the context that you have your target, you know your destination, you're driving them back to the web page. So for those of you we had 61% of you driving back to the website, you should be having a discussion out on the internet in your social network sites, your blogs, right, your videos if you're doing that. In your pay-per-click advertising, right? Whatever you're doing out on the internet and starting that conversation so that when your person in Google comes to your website, they arrive, they stay, and they convert. Okay, so we always start with the end in mind. This is the conversion, and then we're going to get to how do I get to the top of Google to get the click. But what happens is a lot of people get that game and they'll pay us to drive them to the top of Google, and we're like, but don't forget about, where they're going to land, where are they going to go? And that's how landing pages came about, because they were very targeted. Now, sometimes we can build landing pages right within the website, and sometimes they're independent. So we have some that are independent on the internet, and then we have some that are inside our website. Okay, and it depends on budget, it depends on number of products, it depends on initiatives and things like that. It also has to do with, we do a lot of events. So sometimes, like for this webinar, you went to a Citrix GoToWebinar registration page directly from the email or the social media post or the Pinterest pin, wherever it was, however you got here, you clicked on something that said, hey, there's a webinar today on how to get to the top of Google, and you clicked on it, you went to a page that said, hey, here's a webinar on how to climb to the top of Google, and then you filled that out and you arrived here on a webinar to, and so you were like, whether you were searching it or whether you saw it pop up, the conversation maintained that level of consistency. If this makes sense to you, say yes. I want to make sure I'm not losing anybody before I get to this next step. So I just want to make sure everybody give me a big yes. Type in a big yes. I want to make sure everybody's cool and you get this part of it, because this destination thing is huge. It's the #1 factor why people don't convert. Okay, and it needs to be evaluated all the time, but let's not get overwhelmed. Let's just say, hey, listen, yes, we get this. Okay, cool. All right, now let's and so again, it can take many different shapes and sizes. Now, what about social media? I said social media, social networks have a component that allow us to show up on the first page of Google. Okay, so when we look at this, you're like, well, how does that work, right? Well, social media, right, is what we call the stuff. Social networks are the people, right? So social networking is the people. Social media is the stuff. So when we think about text images and audio and video and blogs and all this stuff, that's what's known as social media, and now becoming known as what we call content marketing. Okay, we call it content marketing because it's our content. And so one of the things you want to write down right now, right, is what kind of content do you have? Because here's the funniest thing: we walk into offices, or we'll give people an inventory checklist, and this is just some of the things, but the most popular things, and they'll say, oh, well, we got to create all that content for the internet so that you can register it with Google or put it wherever you guys put it, which we'll show you here in a few minutes to get us to the top. But you can do some of this yourself. All you have to do is organize your content. Now, the content should be somewhat relative to the target, to the conversation that you're trying to attract with your ideal prospects. So think of any sales brochures you have, and we'll show you where to put those. Any training guides. Now, we're not saying give away the training guide, but maybe there's a part of the training guide that could be used to tease people out on a class that you're going to have. So like what we did is we'll take some of our PowerPoint, and I'll show you where we put this, but sometimes we'll publish it on Pinterest, and sometimes we'll publish it on SlideShare and LinkedIn, and that's content that is keyword driven, right, for how to climb to the top of Google on any budget, right? So we'll put little things out there, and then people will find it in that network, right, or in their search. Google will index it because it'll go, wow, Forward Progress has this how to climb to the top of Google on any budget, and it'll start indexing that. And then if we post more things about it, it's going to carry us even higher into the internet. So I want you to just think of articles, press releases. Spencer, you guys do a ton of press releases, PowerPoint presentations, right? Those are huge. There's a lot of content in there for Google to grab onto. Video files, audio clips, blogs, things like that. Okay, so think about content that you have that you may not be using, or you may be using it and it's not converting, and we'll give you some tips on that. But just jot down, again, I had to get out the paper and the pen and pencil and write down the things that make sense for you that you may be sitting around on your desk right now that can be converted to digital, or things that are on your server, or that that memory stick that you're like, oh my gosh, that's right, we have that one video. Okay, now video is huge. Video is probably still, well, it is not probably, it is the #1 thing. In fact, we have a whole new video campaign we had started. We're revamping it a little bit, and video, because of Pinterest, because of YouTube, because of Instagram, because of Vine, it's what Google grabs onto. And don't forget, Google owns YouTube. So the indexing that happens with your target, typing things in, try it out. The thing, when you're typing something in, and if there's a video that exists anywhere on the internet, Google shoots it right to the top, especially if it's keyword driven. Okay, so video is great. How many of you actually have video? I just want to see who has video, who's actually using video right now. So I've got a bunch of you that are doing good, good, good. Okay, so let's just make sure you're optimizing the video, right? And so we'll get to that. Yes, absolutely. So we all need to. And with iPhones and Androids and all cameras everywhere, there's no reason why we can't press play and just get it. I was sitting with a group yesterday. I was doing our 2014 strategy meeting with one of our clients, and we're sitting there, and the CEO was brilliant. He was talking, and he goes, I need to be in front of more people. He goes, I want everybody else to help out with this social media stuff so I can go sit in front of more people. And I said, well, what I want is I want you to talk into the camera for 2 minutes and be with even more people. I want you to be with millions of people and still so that you can sit down with a targeted audience, right? And this is where we miss it. So many of us miss this part of it. It is so easy to do. Okay, if you do stuff like I'm doing right now with this webinar, this is being recorded. This turns into a video, right? Now the other part of this is PowerPoint and brochures, slideshare.net. Now we're going to send you a link so you can go to ours and check it out, but you'll notice, we have keywords in here, we have keywords in our slides, right? How to generate new business, forward progress, DeLisle, right? We talk about, what this looks like in terms of the power of the internet. Now, LinkedIn purchased, right, SlideShare. And so you can put brochures, you can put presentations, and we don't even have the paid version of SlideShare, and we get an average of 200. You see 214 views. Well, all this content gets indexed, and people are searching constantly, and they find Forward Progress, and they find, DeLisle, and they find LinkedIn, and they find this, and they find that, and they arrive here, and when they click here, they can go to our Twitter page and our Facebook page and our LinkedIn page and to our website. Okay, so when we look at what this looks like for you, if you have PowerPoint or you have brochures or PDFs, don't miss out on this. This is huge. Okay, so slideshare.net. We'll email all of you, give you a link to ours, and this is another place that you can link back to. And the cool thing is you can attach this to your social network sites. Now, blogging, right, equals content marketing. So now there is a whole science where we can actually blog. Actually, before we get to blogging, I just want to get a sense. I'm going to put another poll up real quick. So, what social media platforms do you use? And Stephen, it looks like we have a typo in our polling question there for LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn J. But anyway, so everybody, if you could just click on the one that the ones that you're using. I just want to get a sense for our audience because I'm noticing Pinterest and YouTube. Good. It looks like a lot of you we have a lot more people on this than, very good. Okay, cool. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and share this with everybody. I just want you to see that this universe has changed. So let me go ahead and share this. Okay, we have 70, so look at this with about 75% voted. We have most of you are using Pinterest and YouTube, and that's good because of the video, the video exchange. But now blogging takes us into a new direction. Now, blogging was originally created because we called it the poor man's PR, and I know my PR people are laughing about this, but it was designed because we needed a way to get our articles out there, and articles had taken off with e-zine articles and all these places that we could yeah, right. All those on Facebook, you said it's the Wild West, right? I know. And so when we looked at these articles, right, and so we started saying, wow, these are keyword articles that we could put out and make our reputation look good. So I could put Forward Progress and DeLisle, and I could put social media and social networking and those keywords I wanted us to be known for, and I would write articles about those. And then I would publish those articles, and Brooke's probably laughing because she used to work with us, and she's on the line with us today, and she used to actually help, and we'd publish articles, and she would post them all over the internet, and we'd put keywords out there, and we would link them back to our website and put them in our newsletter, and it was it was exhausting because articles are big articles, and then blogging came about. You know, we found that there was so much information and people were searching that they needed a way to grab onto information, get something that they needed right then and there. They didn't need to read the whole article. They just needed like 3 steps, or they needed some quick information, or and blogs are now on a bigger surge than they ever have been in terms of useful information. But remember, it's still a conversation. So your blogs have a complete strategy where you can use this to not only retain your customers and use it with or in place of your current newsletters, but you can use it for that conversation that's taken place in social media, or it's taken place, you know, on Google when they're asking the questions, because people are constantly logging this information in, and then the conversation starts on the internet. Now, where it gets dissected a little bit, let's go back to here, is when we look at the what we call the blend. Okay, so we start the conversation in Facebook, right, and we put the blog there. And now all of a sudden it's wired back to our WordPress site in this particular example, right? So now all of a sudden we have this blog post and it's wired back. And then you're like, okay, well, Dean, what does that have to do with Google? I thought we were getting to the top of Google. Well, what Google looks at is it looks at how active is that content. You know, how connecting is that content? How relevant is that content? Because it's Google's job to answer the questions. It's Google's job to put the very best answers in front of people, and you want to be the very best answer. Okay, so let's say, for instance, that you wanted to get to the top for we'll just say lowest insurance rates. Okay, so lowest insurance rates, you put that out there, and let's just say you're in Madison, Wisconsin. So lowest insurance rates in Madison, Wisconsin. Well, you could do a blog post and just talk about the lowest insurance rates in Madison, Wisconsin, and put that into your blog post. And I can't get too deep into this, but there's a science of putting part of it into the title and enough of it into the body, and then having it registered when you load. It allows you to put the keywords in there, and you're very consistent. And then what you want to do is you want to connect it to your website, and then connect it to when you post on social media. You want to talk about the title. You want to talk about what's in there. And what's going to happen is it's going to give it power and strength and allow it to give it what we call that lift to the top of Google. Okay, so this all works together. So if any of you are blogging in any capacity, if you're posting on social media in any capacity, we just want you to get a little more intentional. And one thing we didn't talk about is in social media sites, you need to make sure that when you look at how you want to get found on the internet, when you look at the number 1, number 2, top 10 things you want to get found for, those words need to be in your website. Write that down. They need to be in your website. They need to be in your profiles, and they need to be in your content. That is going to help you initiate the climb to the top of Google. At the very least, your company name is going to have a great footprint when people go to check you out. So Kevin or Jane, I give your name out as a referral, right? And all of a sudden people type your name in there, whether it's your name or the company name, and they're like, wow, look at all this expertise. They are the go-to person for whatever it is you do. Now, a lot of you already have the profiles. When I started looking at them, they were just a little disconnected. You know, one said this and one didn't have this, and the website said this. And you need to reel that in a little bit and get that organized. When we do our rapid launch plan, we take people through this exact same sequence where we inventory the things that they want to get found for, the targets that they're trying to reach, and then it's about organizing the content so it works together. And that's content marketing. Okay, is everybody with me so far? Because I'm going to jump into some other stuff, and I want to make sure everybody's with me up to this point. Is anybody lost? So just give me a yes, I'm good to go, so that I can keep climbing through this and climbing you to the top of Google. Cool. Looks like everybody's good. All right, and everybody is taking notes, right? Because I want you to at least have you know, a next step or one next thing you can do. Okay, cool. All right, I love teaching this because it's such a science. We study it all the time, and it just allows us to take it to that next place. So you know, LinkedIn. A lot of you have taken our LinkedIn classes or Twitter classes, and don't leave them out, right? So if you're going into social networks, you want to have that capacity so that you can go into LinkedIn and Facebook and use the power, because think about it, there's 1 billion people on Facebook. That's a powerful network. If you have a business page and a personal page and you're posting your blog there and it's attached to your website or your landing page and you're driving people back there, it's showing a lot of traffic and popularity, and then Google's going to look at it and say, wow, it must be really relevant. We're going to create that as one of the answers when people ask this question, okay? And remember that, you know, your prospects are asking those questions, right? So the other reason that social networks have become such a critical factor here, and this is why when we go into an organization, we don't just want to build the LinkedIn business page and the Facebook business page. We want the power of the people. Okay, if we're in a sales environment, we look to see if we can get buy-in from the company to get the power of the LinkedIn profile, the power of the Facebook business profile. You know, we were just working with a bank where all of a sudden we walked in and we said, well, you know, you have 150 people, right, putting mortgages, you know, selling mortgages out there in the country. You know, you have 200 people selling this type of product on the internet. What if every one of them had a LinkedIn page and a Facebook business page, and they were all properly configured with the keywords and tied back to the main site? Do you think that would have a net effect? Just building the profiles. We're going to talk about activation here in a minute, but just building the profiles. And when we do this, it creates such a web, it casts such a net that Google just looks at it and goes, wow. And it starts driving all the content related to that business up. Now, you do have to keep the content alive and keep the content active. This is where Web 2.0 came in. Okay, so the reason this is because we have the power of the people. And the other thing is it builds a little bit of trust, right? Because now, like I said, when, if Ray and Spencer and Sue, were giving your names out as referrals, what do? They type in your name and they look to see if you're really that expert. Well, they start doing this and it gets to that level and it's really interesting. Right? Because now if you really appear to be focused, and I know that's tough, we do a lot too, so it's tough for us to be focused. So we have specialists like Joe who specialize in Google and search engine marketing and blogging, that's his niche, and we have Ryan who focuses on social media, and Caitlin, and then we have Steven who's really good with LinkedIn and LinkedIn profiles and conversion and our webinar groups, right? And so everybody has their thing that they're known for, and they keep tweaking their profiles as they learn new skills, but we still have those top skills. But at the end of the day, they're still attached to social media marketing, search engine marketing, relationship marketing, the things that we want to be known for on the main Forward Progress website. And those links are connected and built. And we work on this constantly ourselves too, right? So we're constantly working on tweaking and rebuilding that. So when we do this, we look at the dynamic of every single connection, the power of every single connection. So we use the power of the content in conjunction with the power of the people. And a lot of you have seen this diagram before, but as we look at the dynamic of just a single network of a person, right? So I don't care if you have 5 people in your company or 500 people in your company. If you start getting those keywords and you start building that, you create what we call social reach. Social reach, okay? And we measure this each and every week, because the impact and the power of keywords driven by the activation of the people creates this social reach that Google tends to latch onto with the content and give it more credibility and drive it to the top. If more people come to your website, Google looks at it and says, wow, there's a lot of people paying attention to this. It must be very valid. I'm going to put it toward the top. Okay, so I just want to make sure you get that. And we look at this where people and content meet is with the use of social media. And again, we have workshops that dig deeper just into the social media aspect. So we want you to get the search engine marketing lift, right? We want you to, whatever you want to be known for, whether you're just branding your company name, which is the easiest thing to do, or your personal name, you have the ability. Just make sure that when you're using any content whatsoever, right? Make sure that whenever you're using anything, any search phrase whatsoever, that you're consistent. You put the same phrase. You make sure that your name and your company name is listed in Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube and whatever other social networks that you're involved in. Okay, so that's the social media blend, right? And what we want you to do is work your way to the top. So what's interesting is we had, I still have Joe on with us, but Joe was testing this out, and he did the best free CRM. A bunch of us came from the CRM space, and he did this blog article about the best free CRM for small business. And there's a lot of CRM competitors out there. I mean, we're talking about Salesforce and all kinds of companies. And so we work with a couple of different ones. And so he said, well, I'm going to write this article on it and see how fast we can get it to the top of Google. And so he did that. And what was it, Joe? It was like within 24 hours, it was on the first page of Google. Is that right? Yeah, so and then when you wired this in, you wired this in with your name, with forward progress, with CRM, and again, the article climbed right to the top of Google. So it was one of those things, and so we constantly are looking for what questions are people asking. So what Joe did is he said a lot of people are looking for the best free CRM for small business. So that's what people are typing in. Why not give them that answer? And so he just did one blog post. Now he did it attached to our blog, which already has some weight, and then we posted it out on the social network sites. Okay? So all we did was answer the question. And this is just the blogging component, right, with the social networking component. Joe, we didn't pay any extra money to Google. We didn't do any ads on this. We just did this purely organic.
Okay, now it actually comes up if you just type in best free CRM. You don't even have to put the other 3 words up there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was doing that too. So it was late last night when I was putting the slide together, so I was doing a couple different searches. But what amazed me is how quick Google validated and drove it to the top. So that was one of the cool things. Now, this is a question for everybody that's on with us today. First and foremost, I'm going to put this up. Do you know your primary keywords? I just want to see yes or no, just a quick yes or no. Just click on the screen, on the polling screen. I just want to know if you know what your primary keywords are. So how do people find you, and if you know your top 10, your top 20 keywords. I just want to see where everybody's at before I get into this next thing that I'm going to drive people into. Okay. So most everybody has voted. All right, good. So just so you see that you're not alone, let's go here, and I'm going to share this. So we have 67% of you said yes, and 33 said no. Now, let's hide this. Now, real quick, what do you think? Remember how I said the conversation or the question starts on the internet, what people are looking for, right? What keyword phrase, if you could own any keyword phrase, like what people typed into the internet, give us your wish list. I just want to see, just type that into the questions area. I want to see what keyword phrase would you like to own. Just type that into the question. I want to see what variety we have of folks that, homes for sale, custom action figures, there you go. Best program management firm, assisted living, satisfaction survey, business process documentation, ERP for wholesale. Look at you guys are all over this. Good. So you want to claim that, right? You want to claim that and get that everywhere. So we have the contact center, we have plastic parts supplier, water in my basement, advertising sales. strategic visioning, right? Okay, so you guys are getting the game now. What'll happen is you want to, dial this in a little bit. So, like I said, sometimes you can't, like here, if you type this in, we have to go up against Quicken Loans and Chase, who are paying for these prime positions, and I'll cover that in just a minute here. But what you want to do is you want to look at those keywords. So those of you that said no, make sure that you get down and on your list before you get to 2014, do a keyword strategy, okay? We do that with our rapid launch plans, but if you have anybody internal or that you're working with, just make sure you do it. Okay, make sure you get down to a keyword strategy. And does it stay the same once it's not a set it and forget it, it's something that you have to look at all the time, because people are asking different questions based on the news, based on the economy, based on what's going on, and based on, things that you can attach yourself to. There may be something on the climb or something on the rise that you can talk about that will attract people back to you, that can become a very great keyword for you to use. So when you're doing, when you want effective posting in your social media, make sure that you don't forget the keywords. Okay, so the things that we've talked about are things you can control up to this point. This is organic, and organic takes a little longer. I mean, we had, we built up our reputation on the blogging and on our website, and so that blog quickly climbed to the top, and we highly optimized the blog with keywords and some other things in there. So you can start doing this like right now. If you're posting, if you have social media profiles, you need to take those keywords and make sure that they get in there, and that's organic, working organically, at that level. And effective posting comes into it all the time. And what we say is make sure that you integrate. Right, so like on our website, if you go to forwardprogress.net, you'll see that we integrate the posts, we integrate even our event pages and our Facebook feed and our tweets, right on the main page. And then there's other sub-pages here, and we wire this to our social network sites. And then we wire our people to the About Us section, and then wire their sites, right, to the About Us section. So write that down. If you haven't done that with your website, that is another huge move. And then what you get is you type in Forward Progress, and there you are again, Joe. Joe, obviously, you can tell Joe manages our blogging, so he comes up on top. So there you go. So this is what you want for you when you type this in, and so you want to be able to have not just the things come up for the starting the questions, but also that your business comes up on top. Okay, and we always say, what if like all this, you got all this to work together, even partially, right? And so as people are typing in and working things, what would the results look like? And this is on the organic side. Now, what if you wanted to buy your way to the top, right? So this is a component of search engine marketing where you can buy your way to the top. But again, you're competing. So we have very strategic, okay, so I'm gonna answer this real quick because Jane asked a good question. What do I mean by wiring various social media sites together? What I mean by that, Jane, and write this down, this is important for everybody. If you have a Google Plus account, you should list your Twitter account and your website. You're wiring those together. Okay, if you have a website, you should list your Google Plus account and your Twitter account in there. Okay, so in your profiles, in your LinkedIn profile, in every LinkedIn profile, you can have up to 3 other URLs. You can put your Facebook and your Twitter accounts associated to your LinkedIn. And that's what I mean by wiring the various social media sites together. And that is a very key component of search engine marketing. So thanks for asking that clarifying question, Jane. All right, so now what if you wanted to buy your way to the top? Now you have to have budget, okay? So think about what this looks like in terms of buy your way to the top. So if I'm competing with people and I put social media marketing strategy in here and I'm up against Facebook.com, Hootsuite, they have much bigger budgets than us, everybody on this page. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to strategically determine I'm either going to spend a lot of money or I need to own phrases that maybe don't have quite as many, that isn't quite as broad. Maybe I just want to own it in Chicago or on Clark Street or in a neighborhood, right? So I can get very specific. And so tactically, when we're doing campaigns, we're doing, we're going to do questions, some questions at the end here. Just give us a few minutes. So when we get to paying for this, we have to make those decisions. And so normally, if you're going to pay, you need to start at a minimum of probably anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month. Okay, so if you're going to pay, right? For pay per click. That's what this is, because you're paying to buy your way to the top, and then every time somebody clicks. Now we have packages that help people get maybe 3 or 4 keyword phrases and be able to hold that line at the top a little bit against those big competitors. But that's an offline discussion. If that's something you're interested in, you just want to make sure you have the proper budget. Like I said, at least $500 plus to be able to buy your way to the top. Now you get instant gratification, right? So when you buy your way to the top, it can be up there right away. When you're doing it organically, it takes a little bit of time to start moving and inching and working your way toward the top. However, if you stop buying ads, the ads stop. Right? Am I clear about that? So you can pay for the ads pop up. That's why we use it a lot for event marketing and things like that are very in the moment. Things, like in the States here, we had is it Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? So we had those big sales, and all of a sudden people could run something for 5 days or 1 day or 24 hours, buy that spot, and then shut it down. So it's very budget controlled, but the minute you stop paying, you haven't gained anything. With organic, you build a reputation and you build stability and you get yourself to that level at the top, right? So you have to decide based on your budget, based on your objectives. Now, the one question we always want you to answer is, well, what's your average sale, right? So if you can answer what your average sale is, and if you could close one deal, right? How much does that bring in, right? So equate it to one piece of business, or 3 proposals get you 1 contract, and I don't have enough time to do all the equation with you, but if you're trying to make a decision and trying to figure out, well, do I go organic, do I do paid, do I do both, you want to just try to make sure you can quantify it. Right? You want to make sure you can tie this out to what what your objective is, what's your business objective. If you could close one piece of business, is $500 worth it, right? Do you make $2,000 on the piece of business? What does that look like? So that's the question you have to answer when you're putting these budgets together. And this is what we want you to look at for 2014, because it's not going away, it's getting hotter. Okay, there's more, which means your competitors are going to jump in. So that's why we're trying to educate you ahead of the deal here. So with these growing numbers, right, on LinkedIn and the growing numbers in Facebook, you have to really start to look at the social media side of this, as well as which is the organic, right, and the blogging side of this, right, and the people side of this in conjunction with the website. So again, pick one thing that you can do. Right, so the assignment here is define a target audience, right? Identify your destination, like where are you taking everybody, right? Define your approach. You're going to do this organically, paid, or blended, right? Create a plan. Define your team. Now, what does your team mean? This could be people on the inside. Maybe I know some of you have selected Forward Progress as your team. What allies and people do you have that can either help you from a education standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint? Maybe they can be an ally to you, right? Just make sure you map this out, and we'll send this list out to everybody so you can sort of see what your assignment looks like. Now, before we get to some of the questions, all we want to know, now we have a lot of people, on with us today from all over the world, and everybody's at a different place. But some people need help with websites and landing pages, right? And those, as you know, start from $900 up. Some people need help and they want to get into search engine marketing the organic way. They want someone to do it for them. Some people are looking at SE, search engine marketing, for paid advertising. But we only really want to talk to you like if you're ready to go. Some of you need to leave here. You need to watch this again. We'll send you the recording. We want you to take your time. We want you to do it right. We want you to be ready to go. And we want you to know we're here to help. And then some of you need just training and coaching. And you're like, hey, we want to do this. Just show us how. We have companies that we go in and coach and train their social media departments, their search engine departments, their webmaster, whatever it is. So if you need to be in that capacity. So real quick, I'm going to put a poll up, and you just tell us what you need help in. Just click on that. Really just, and I have one checkbox on there, down the road, not now. So, if you want us to talk to you later, we're not going to call you. We just want to know who's in that position that really needs help, because it's the end of the year, 2014 is coming on us, and we really have to get. So Stephen, feed me some questions so that I can see where we're at. And again, we just want to help those. Okay, should keywords only be in the content or in HTML code? Now we are thankful that we still have Joe on. So Joe, are you still with us? Can you answer that? So should keywords only be in content or in HTML code too?
Both. It's best to weave them into the visible text as much as you can without it seeming and sounding unnatural, but you can get more elaborate and put more variations of those keywords behind the scenes, obviously, because readers don't have to read them all. But Google will still read it.
Okay, good. And sometimes the key, the HTML, that in the HTML, this is a big question, because it could be in the HTML on the website, because there's HTML that I've seen embedded in blog posts and other places too. So I would say that goes anywhere, right? And is there proper formatting or things that you have to pay attention to in that?
Each platform and website treats it a little bit different, but usually there's no requirement for having capitalization or anything like that. If it's the words there, Google will read it.
Got it. Okay, cool. Edith, does that help out? Just want to make sure that was we're addressing our questions there. Okay, good. Would you do a webinar showing us how to do this in the future? Yes, we run these marketing webinars quite often, so we'll make sure we we'll just stay subscribed to us, and you'll always be included in these. Let's see, can Google crawl Facebook and LinkedIn despite them being password protected? I can answer this, Matthew. So yes, as long as your profile is open. One of the mistakes people make is they make their profiles private, which means you then shut this off. It shuts you off from being crawled, okay, or being scanned. So I've seen this happen with people that create accounts, and then they're like, well, make my account private or don't publish this account, and obviously it cannot get picked up. So yes, if you're Googling your name or Googling your company, your LinkedIn profile should be close to the top, and then Facebook should be just behind it, as well as your YouTube and Google Plus pages. So let's see, what difference does U.S. Versus British spelling make in terms of keywords? Well, it would be based on your target, right, Joe? I mean, in terms of, the way I look at this is, how does your target client speak? Like, what if they're asking a question? Are they asking for color, C-O-L-O-R, or C-L? C-O-L-O-U-R, how you may have to do it both ways based on how people are typing those in there. I mean, that's
right. Based on your target, you would do that. Maybe you put both behind the scenes, and then use whichever one publicly on the page that your target audience is most likely to use.
Right, and Adam's asking, is cold calling dead? And I would say it depends. It depends, Adam. I don't discount it out. Cold calling for me has been dead for quite some time, because I've been in referral marketing and done partner programs and channel marketing, and that's the way we've always operated. Joe, I think you started off back in the day cold calling.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We've all done it. It's just one of those things where, I mean, I used to build call centers for a living, right, as part of my business. Anyway, just think about what that looks like. One of the questions coming up here is about implement effective email marketing. Now, Heather, I had a whole segment in this, but you can see it's 2:55, and I took it out because email marketing is extremely critical, but doesn't necessarily affect Google. So when I started looking at the topic, when we do our, actually we have a marketing checklist webinar coming up, I think next week, and we will address email marketing there because it absolutely is a key to your social media success. Although the energy that you create from social, from email marketing to a blog or to other places can directly affect the weighting of how, the weight of how Google ranks that page. So if you're driving more people out of your emails to your blog site, that would give you a higher ranking. So I have my answer on this, Joe. I'm going to let you answer this your way. How do you decide whether organic or paid is the way to go?
First, I would look at Google your preferred keywords and see who's showing up. If the results in the organic spots are not huge competitors that would be almost impossible to overcome, then organic will probably get you on that first page fairly easily. But usually, no matter how big your business is, usually a balanced approach is best, especially in the beginning, because you can get a little bit of immediate gratification by having those paid ads while you're building organically at the same time.
Absolutely. So okay, cool. Yeah, and I'm pretty much right there with it. And it depends on, is it a short-term initiative, long-term initiative? Is it a test? A lot of times we're testing. Adam is asking, I'm using LinkedIn for prospecting. Is this effective? Adam, if you haven't attended, you have to attend our business development, our LinkedIn business development program, because it is effective and we guarantee results, money back guaranteed results. Go to you can go to LinkedInOnDemand.com if you want to go to that site and check it out. We guarantee your money back if you do not increase your business. Now we can't close the business for you, but we'll guarantee appointments. Let's see. What is the best source for researching keywords? Still Google Analytics. Joe, I'll let you take that one.
It's actually, analytics is what shows you how people are getting to your site kind of after the fact. If you want to more so research what you should be trying to prioritize up front, what you should be blogging about, what keywords you should be building in. It used to be called the Google Keyword Tool. Now it's called the Google Keyword Planner tool. So if you go ahead and either just go to adwords.google.com and log into your AdWords account, it's under Tools, or you can simply Google the phrase Google Keyword Planner, and the AdWords link should show right at the top.
Perfect, perfect. All right, cool. All right, well, with that being said, I know, Joe, you have to jump off to a meeting, and we have one coming up as well. So real quick, just type into the questions area, did everybody at least have one takeaway or something new that you can do to prepare yourself for 2014? Just one, one thing or more. I just want to make sure we served you up and really helped you out as much as we can. And we did capture those of you that want us to contact you. Let's see. Good, good. Thank you so much, Sue. That's kind. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, go for it and make sure, yes, and so just take one step at a time, okay? And don't get overwhelmed and say, well, I'll do it next weekend, next week, next week, next week. We want to make sure that you make some forward progress. So make those steps, make those entries into Yes, good, good. I'm glad you guys are working on strategies. So let's do this, rock and roll, and then watch for the one next week. There's going to be some repeat, but repetition is the mother of skill. So let's make sure if you can make it, in the one that we do next week, watch your inbox, and we'll make sure everybody gets invited to that. And that's going to be like your marketing checklist. So we'll take you a little deeper into check by check, getting through this. And we did mark those of you that were interested in maybe doing something right away. And again, we don't want to call everybody. We don't like, hounding people. We just want to serve those that are, ready to go. And if not, you take some more training until, you decide that you need some support. We'd love to be your partner. And we'd love to be on your team if that's, what it looks like for you. Or, we also love referrals. So please send your friends our way. And we appreciate you attending and participating, and you guys were amazing in terms of your questions and everything else. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you to Joe Karns and Steve Nestor helping to produce today, and thanks to all of you globally who showed up and made this a fabulous event. So take care, everybody. We have our social network sites listed on the screen here. We encourage you to connect to us. We love connecting, we love helping people out, and we look forward to seeing all of you looking good online. Take care, everyone.